Ready? Everyone ready? Okay. Hi and welcome to everyone to the March agenda briefing. I am Deputy Shire President Lisa Glover, standing in for Vivian McCarthy, who's not here today. I'd like to acknowledge the continuing connection to Aboriginal people to country, culture and community, including traditional custodians of the land, the Wandandi people and the Kayang people of Noongar Nation, paying respects to elders past and present. I'd like to declare the agenda meeting open and welcome everyone who is in the gallery. I'd like to advise that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded in accordance with Council Policy EM CP2, and I'd like to state the following: that the briefing session will be live streamed, digitally recorded in accordance with the Council Policy. Members of the public are reminded that no visual or audio recording of this meeting by any other means is allowed without the permission of the chairperson. Whilst every endeavour has been made to only record those who are directly participating in the meeting, loud comments or noises from the gallery may be picked up on the recording. Agenda briefings are open to the public to observe. However, any questions, deputations or petitions are to be presented to the ordinary council meeting. There's no debate style or discussion, as this needs to take place in the ordinary meeting of council when the issue is set for decision. So in attendance today, there's myself, Deputy Shire President Lisa Glover, there's Alexis Davey. Anne Mitchell is coming, but she's not here at the moment. There's Councillor John Bailey, there is Councillor Anita Lindeman, there's Councillor Grant Patrick, Councillor Deanna Shand, and then alongside me to the far left is Samantha Farquhar, who's our Administration Officer for Corporate Services. We've got Lauren Clifford, who is the Acting Director of Finance and Corporate. We have our CEO, Mr. Nick O'Connor. To my right, there's Ross Marshall, who is the Director of Operations. And sitting back in the gallery today, we have Simon Pepler, who is the Manager of Recreation and Library Services, and also Stephanie Karafillis, who is the Acting Manager of Financial Services. And we also have Peter Gubler, Councillor Peter Gubler, who has just arrived. So, no members of the public? I see this. Yeah. So items 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 and 3, item number 3 are all not relevant as it's an agenda briefing. But are there any declarations of interest that need to be received? Does anyone have a declaration of interest for any of the items on today's meeting? No. Item 5 and 6 are not relevant to an agenda briefing. So then we come up to item number 7, which is the confirmation of the minutes. So the confirmation of the ordinary council meeting held on the 26th of February. Does anybody have any questions around that meeting and the minutes of that meeting? No? Okay, the next one is item number 8. 8.1 is the Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting, which was held yesterday, the 18th of March 2025. And I believe that our CEO, Mr. O'Connor, is going to discuss that report.
Yeah, thank you very much, Presiding Member. So just very quickly, councillors, obviously the meeting was held yesterday, and given the timeframes, the minutes haven't been finalised yet, so they will be loaded up and be ready for discussion at the OCM. However, I just draw your attention to, I won't go into great detail, but item 7.2, which was the review of the financial management, risk management, legislative compliance and internal controls item. This was a subject of considerable discussion at the meeting yesterday, and I guess the takeaway is that we'll be needing to brief councillors and provide you with significant detail, have a good session with councillors about the impacts, the resourcing impacts, in order to make those suggested or opportunities for improvement. And it's fair to say that the opportunities for improvement identified are across a number of our risk areas, around financial management systems, some of our council policies, our strategic plan or our IPNR framework, strategic and operational registers, and a number of areas of, I guess, of compliance and good governance. So I guess it was a really good discussion yesterday with the Audit and Risk Management Committee members. But just foreshadowing, we'll have a follow-up session with all councillors, give you a good briefing around the depth and length of what's required in order to improve our governance, and then the associated resource requirements as well.
Sorry, thank you. Just like to add through the chair, there will be a notation to add a point 3 to the end of that resolution, as per my email this morning to the committee members in regards to the question around the playground equipment in that disposal of assets. That shouldn't have been part of the comments, so we'll make sure that that's amended and part of that notation as well, so that the compliance audit return can be submitted to the Department of Local Government in time. And just also noting for councillors' reference that bringing the recommendations and the reports of committees in this form, we haven't done it like this before, so this will be new to everyone. So if there's any questions, happy to answer those.
So does anybody have any questions around the minutes or the process that we are looking at right now? The minutes are coming out, I believe, tomorrow. Is that right? That's correct? Yeah, yep. So does anyone have any questions? Okay, moving along. Point 8.2 is the Local Emergency Management Committee meeting, which was held on the 4th of February 2025. And the recommendation is to receive the minutes from that Local Emergency Management meeting to be received. Does anyone have any questions around that? Okay, 8.3 is the Bunbury Geograph Group of Council meeting, which was held on the 7th of February 2025, and the executive recommendation is that the minutes from that meeting be received. Does anybody have any questions around that point?
Do you mind if I make a comment? Yep. So through you, Chair, just a reminder to councillors, you would have seen within those minutes that there is moves afoot to work up a scope for the employment of an executive officer, which is fairly common practice for these regional bodies of groups of council. The proposal is that it is an equal share, so it'll be a matter that need to be discussed as part of the budget deliberations and get a policy decision from council. But we're looking at around a contribution of around $20,000 per council in order to get the calibre of person to drive a number of those projects forward.
Thank you for that. Does anybody want to ask any questions around that item? Okay, 8.4 is the South West Country Zone meeting, which was held on the 21st of February 2025, and the recommendation is to receive the minutes from that meeting. Does anybody have any questions on that item? Councillor Davey?
Yeah, I do have a question on that item, but it actually rolls into the next item as well, because it was raised in both the South West Country Zone and the State Council meeting. So in the South West Country Zone meeting, it's proposed that there is an updated climate change policy and advocacy position that was supported and then taken to the State Council. I noted that it now explicitly asks that the government provide funding for the Regional Climate Alliance program, which we currently support ourselves through the WBAC, and assistance for resourcing and funding emission inventories, reduction initiatives, risk assessments and adaptation funding. I can then see it went to the State Council meeting on the 5th of March, who sent it back to the Enviro Policy team for more work. I was just wondering if anyone knows why.
So through you, Chair, myself and President McCarthy weren't able to attend that Southwest Country Zone meeting and haven't received any feedback from the State Council meeting and the reason why it was sent back, but I can take that question on notice and provide all councillors with an update accordingly.
Thank you, that would be appreciated. So then that brings us up to, does anyone have any other questions? No. So that brings us to 8.5, which is the Walga State Council meeting, which was held on the 5th of March 2025. So the recommendation is to receive those minutes. Does anybody have any questions around that item? Okay, so we're up to point 9, which is the reports of officers. So 9.1, Director of Operations. And 9.1.1 is the adoption of Council Policy COMD CP6 events. So this is about a policy that we have previously spoken about. It's attachment 9.1.2 brackets 1 about adopting the council policy. Does anyone have any questions about that item? But I guess just to be a little bit more specific about that, so the executive summary was that councillors requested to adopt council policy COMD CP6 events. The new policy outlines when an event application is required and when an event application will be referred to council for determination. So it just clearly outlines that for us. No questions? (9.2.1) also report from the Director of Finance and Corporate is the schedule of accounts as paid at the 28th of February 2025. So the recommendation is to receive the accounts for payment report for the period ended February 2025 as per attachment 9.2.1. Does anybody have any questions about that item? Councillor Davey?
Yeah, I just note that you can see the cost for the FOGO disposal to landfill coming through in the accounts now. I was just wondering if there was an update on what was happening with that.
Yes, CEO?
Yeah, so through the Chair, nothing of great substance at this stage. I believe the last time we provided an update, staff advised that we were looking at partnering with a neighbouring shire, Dardanup, to look at some sort of group buying or procurement activity. They're finalising that documentation and going to go to Viola. So we've joined that process, but the procurement activity hasn't been finalised yet, so there's nothing to update council at this stage.
Are there any further questions? Okay. Moving on, 9.2.2, which is the intent to apply for a CFRFF small grant fund. So this has been prepared by the Manager of Recreation and Library Services and the Manager of Corporate Services. So we're welcoming up here Mr. Simon Pebler, who is the Manager of Recreation and Library Services, to speak on this recommendation.
Lovely. Thank you, councillors, and good afternoon. Yes, so this afternoon I'll be talking very briefly about the Community Sporting and Recreation Facility Fund, which we are intending to apply. Thank you. I'll give you a bit of a brief overview of what it is. Make sure this comes up. So the CSRFF can be as a new fund to upgrade facilities which can maintain or increase physical activity or result in a more rational use of facilities. Priorities are given to projects that lead to facility sharing. So a great example is a recreation centre where we've got a number of clubs operating out the facility, and there are areas of the facility that do need upgrading, and we do fit quite nicely into this grant. So some examples being new playing surfaces, ovals, courts and synthetic surfaces, change rooms and ablutions, sports storage as well. So there are 2 small grant rounds. These are advertised annually, February and July, so February being the latest one. Closing date for this upcoming grant is the 31st of March, so it's coming around fairly quick. And this is for projects up to a total cost of $500,000. The maximum grant offered for small applications, so they offer 50% of the grant, which is capped at $200,000. So what are the proposed works that we're looking to apply for this grant to be applied to? Poolside changing rooms, the poolside family changing room, and the dry side changing rooms. So pretty much most of the changing rooms that we have at the recreation centre, and a dry side ambulance toilet. So at the moment, this fits in well with the grant remit. The change rooms have had, I don't know if you've seen them, but they have very little work done or no updates or upgrades since the rec centre opened in 91/94. There was 2-stage opening to the facility. It's also increased safety for patrons. So if we're looking at the changing rooms themselves, there's shower curtains, they're not cubicles. It just doesn't really fit, I don't think, really within the code of what changing rooms need to be at this current time, particularly in sporting facilities. And it will definitely modernise it. Okay, on to the important stuff. So where is the 50% of the funding coming from? So we currently have allocated for the rec centre from the reserve fund, this is for this financial year, $229,000. In there is $53,000 for the male change, and this is the dry side, $53,000 for the female change. And at the bottom, second from the bottom, we've got poolside changing rooms refurb at $51,000. Currently, that's probably not going to be enough to actually fit out the full amount of the changing rooms, which is why we're looking to apply for this grant. And to also leverage that amount as well to get as much as we can from the grant funding. We'd also be looking to move some of the money for the stadium repaint of the doors, the air conditioning in the function room, and repainting the tiered seatings around poolside to the LRCI grant, which needs to be used up for this financial year. Mezzanine solar inverters is something that we can look at that's not super urgent, that's working perfectly fine, and something we'll be looking to defer for subsequent years. So that gives us a total amount of $200,557,000, of which we can leverage another $200,000 from the grant, which is where the $200,000 is capped, to give us a total of $400,000 towards changing upgrading the changing rooms, which would be a substantial change, and we're looking at long term rather than short term changes. That's it from me, nice and quick and short and sweet, with a nice picture there of the current changing rooms. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions around this item?
Through the chair, if I could ask a question, please.
Sure.
The grant that you're applying for, did you say there's one for 500 and there's one for 200? And either one of them, you could get the full amount or 50%, or is it only 50%?
Yeah, it's capped at $500,000 for the total project, and then $200,000 is the maximum that you can get from the grant. So, for instance, we're going for say $200,000, it's a $400,000 project, but they wouldn't do anything more than we wouldn't be applicable for anything more than $500,000 total for the project for this particular grant, so we wouldn't fit within that remit.
Councillor Lindeman?
Sure, thank you. Through the chair, just with the inverter and the solar panels, is that you're putting off in the hope that now we will get the promised inverter and solar panel and battery operation storage system?
No. We actually had one of the inverters break about 2 years ago, so we got that one replaced. I think it was at the time maybe under insurance, can't remember now. And then the other two inverters, they're only about 7 years old in total. So both inverters generally have about 10 to 15 year lifespan. So no immediate need to replace them for this financial year, which is why we're looking to defer at this time, being with one of the inverters brand new.
Councillor Shand?
Can you advise if the figures that you've provided are up to date? Have they been recosted at the current cost of material and works?
At the moment, the plans are drawn up for the changing rooms and the costings are sitting with a quantity surveyor. I need to get those costings back. However, I'll be looking to move the money from this financial year allocated to the changing rooms, as you saw, into next financial year. And that is dependent on the cost from the quantity surveyors that we'll get back.
Councillor Lindemann?
Last question, thank you, through the chair. Not to get too specific about tiles and colours and whatnot, would there be an opportunity to look at water-saving devices for this upgrade or this application, this grant application?
Absolutely. I think it's part of parcel with saving money long term at the recreation centre anyway. With the swimming pool, water is a big cost, so if there's any chances we can make savings there, water saving shower heads. The change rooms that we currently have don't have time saving devices on, so that will definitely be part of the upgrade.
Councillor Lindemann?
Thank you, Vice President Glover. The last question being water-saving devices, definitely not being shower heads. Would they be some sort of, God, I can't find the words, turning it into a question, a push button or a mechanism that would cut that shower off within 3 to 5 minutes?
Yeah, so absolutely. Think of the plans at what's currently at VC Mitchell Park, both Pavilion 1 and Pavilion 2. Pretty much a copy and paste from there over to the recreation centre is what we're looking at.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, moving on. Thank you very much. So now we're up to 9.2.3, and we welcome up to the stage the bench. Welcome. And this is our acting Manager of Finance, Stephanie Karafillis. And she's going to speak about 9.2.3, which is the statutory budget review as of the 31st of January 2025. I'll just go through. So the recommendation is for Council to adopt the 2025 budget review as presented in attachment 9.2.61 for the period of the 1st of July 2024 to the 31st of January 2025 and amend the budget accordingly. And also to note the budget review for July 1, 2024 and 31 January 25 generates a budget surplus of $125,157.
Yes. So the budget review is from the period from 1st of July to the 31st of January. Okay. The budget is a conservative budget review. It's done in consultation with management. So just because it's a new budget format and some of our comparisons from last year aren't readily available, but I have gone through every line item and reviewed it and then gone to management to get their comments and things on it. There's an increase in operating grants and subsidies. Now the graph is showing adopted budget to revised budget, which includes budget amendments that have already been approved by council in previous meetings. So a couple of things in the grants and subsidies is there's a mitigation grant that we received in 2023 that was not in the 24-25 budget, so that's just bringing that grant money in, which is offset by expenditure. There was an NRM grant which was for blackberry spraying over 2 years. That was also not in the 24-25 budget, so that's just bringing the full amount in and also offset by expenditure. So that's the main ones on the grants, subsidies and contributions. In reimbursements, that is mainly due to the Irish Town Bridge reconstruction, which previously went through council. And then there's a couple of extra, so the access road and project management, the expenditure was in, but the reimbursement was not in the budget, so we've reassessed to get a better figure of what we should be reimbursable for those. And then there's just other insurance claims throughout the year that aren't budgeted, but we're getting extra money in for those. Fees and charges, there's not much difference in there. I mean, there's a lot of changes up and down, but they all balance each other out. So that's quite a minimal amount. Interest revenue is decrease in both Muni and the reserve funds due to just rates being, first instalment being later than last year, and interest rates are slightly dropping. It might not be that amount of money by the end of the year because construction's been delayed a little bit, so I've done a conservative estimate. I mean, it could go back up. And profit on assets, well, that's just was not in the budget, so we've sold some vehicles and it's just bringing in the profit amount that I've estimated to the end of the year. Okay, can I move on? Yes?
Do you want to break it down and see if there's any questions?
Yes, any questions on just on that side?
Councillors have any questions about this particular graph?
Okay. Right, and that just gets to the end of it. So operating expenses. So once again, employee costs are more or less even. The slight increase is due to the fact that we had budgeted for more operating costs, and then to do with the construction of the bridge and doing that access road, that's moving it to capital. So this is only looking at operating employee costs, not capital employee costs. So the increase in this area is offset by a decrease in capital area. Materials and contracts, the main items in there are the ICT strategy. We've put an extra amount of money in for that. Mitigation is the expenditure offsetting the grant, same as the NRM grant. We've put some extra money in for traffic management. The costs have just gone up, and that's something that we have to have. And bridge maintenance, there was extra bridge maintenance that we had to do. And then the rest, depreciation, that's just due to the timing of the buildings being completed and running depreciation. We budget for the full year, but some of the buildings were obviously 6 months into the year before they were completed. And the rest are very minimal. Once again, the loss from the sale of vehicles is just, it's a non-cash amount. It's not like, it's just bringing the amount into the budget. I think that was the end of that one. Any questions on that one?
Councillor Jaggi.
Is the change of 25,000 into reserves, is that on the next slide?
Sorry?
The 20 decrease in transfers to reserve?
Yes, that's coming up. Oh,
Okay,
yeah. Whoops,
cool.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions around this graph? No?
So non-operating grants, which is capital type grants, there was a new grant that we received for VC Mitchell, and that was for the lighting at the tennis courts. And then we received a DFIS funded light tanker, so that was not in the budget as well. So that's just bringing in the cost of the vehicle and also the grant income, less a small amount for the disposal of the previous vehicle. Increase in capital expenses, sorry. Once again, that's mainly due to the DFIS vehicle. We put some money in for lot 9 and 10 Southwestern Highway to do some work on the car park.
Is that drainage?
Is it drainage? Sorry.
Oh,
Is it down that way?
is that the old, yeah,
The
the old
old-
caravan park?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the tennis club lighting expenditure as well. Yes, sorry. Any questions on that?
Could I ask just a question in regards to the lot 19, this is old caravan park?
Not 9 and 10.
9 and 10, sorry. Is that, and you refer to as the old caravan park, which I think is next door to the servo? Reserve, thank you. Through the chair, I was just wondering if we'd made any inquiries with Taliesin and alike in regards to perhaps participating in rectifying that, as it's generally a large car park for workers, and whether they'd like to partner with us at all in perhaps even possibly, if we've got no other use for it, renting, for want of a better word. Thank you.
Through the chair? Sure. Thank you, Chair. I can confirm we have actually engaged with Taliesin. We've put a proposal to them. There is correspondence continuing on that proposal, so don't have an outcome at the moment, but I will keep you informed. So, but they've certainly been engaging with us. They understand the value of that property for more reasons than just their own. So, yeah, hopefully positive continuation of correspondence.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions about this particular graph?
So this is just a summary of the predicted variances. In the actual budget review document, note 4 goes through and has a lot more explanation about the various variances, for want of a better word. So this is just an overall view of what's going on to give us our estimated closing surplus. Is there any questions on this one?
Councillor Davey.
Why was there a decrease in transfers to reserves of 25,000?
Okay, so that's to do with the interest that I've predicted on the term deposits that we've got. I don't, as I said, I think how things are going, it depends on the construction with how much money we're moving out of the reserve. So I've left, I don't move money out of reserve until we actually expand it. So it's just a prediction till the end of the year. I'm hoping it'll come back.
Very conservative, just.
Yeah.
Councillor Davey.
Sorry, as a follow-up to that, so with the estimated closing surplus of 125,000, is there the plan for that it would be transferred to reserves to close, say, our gap in employee entitlements?
Yes,
or-
so that would be up to council to decide the best option for that at the end of the year. And it could be, you know, your surplus could be more depending on the budget for next year.
Councillor Patrick.
Thanks. I should have researched this bit, but this is the revised estimated closing surplus 125. What's the variance to what the previous budgeted amount was for the closing?
Zero.
Okay, so it was-
so we do
we had a zero
it's
budget.
a balanced budget.
Yeah,
and
right.
So it's zero and then.
Thanks.
Yeah.
May I ask a question as well? Does anyone else want to ask a question before me? Okay. My question is then, if we've got the surplus and we are, that's like a running balance so far, but then at the end of the financial year, we'll know if we have any further surplus or if we actually have overspent and we might need to decrease that. And then at the end of that, then that remainder will then go to our reserves. Is that how it works?
So at the end of the year, if there's a surplus again, it'll be part of the budget for next year, and you would discuss where you want that surplus to go to, whether it's to fund other projects or to go into reserves. So that would be up to council.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any more questions? No?
So just the conclusion is that, predicted surplus is 125, and to adopt the budget review and amend the budget accordingly. There's just one other note on the variances in the attachment on page 7, line 4.8, materials and contracts. The wrapping, sorry, my mistake, the wrapping's missed out a couple of lines, so there's some more wording to do with the variance on materials and contracts, so a new document will go out on Friday. Is there any more questions?
Thank you very much. Sounds very promising. Yeah, okay, so now we've got, please remain, 9.2.4, which is the Statement of Financial Activity Report as of 28th of February 2025. And the executive recommendation is that council receive the Statement of Financial Activity Report for that time. So I'll hand it over to...
I don't really have an introduction to it because... Previous items sort of... Yeah.
Yeah, okay, but while you're here, does anybody have any questions around this item? Thank you so much. Very good, yep. Okay, so moving on. This is a report from our Chief Executive Officer. No, it's not. There's nothing there. Sorry, mistake. Item 10, which is the elected members' motions, which previous notice has been given. So item 10.1 is to join Waterwise Council program. And the report here has been prepared by Councillor Davey. And the elected member recommendation is that council join the Waterwise Council program. So, councillors, does anybody have any questions in regard to this item? Councillor Lindeman.
Yeah, thank you. Just through the chair. I mean, okay. What clearly is the benefit of spending $10,000 to save money long term? What is that dollar figure? So you spend $10,000, what do we get back for that $10,000?
So I'm wondering if it's appropriate for Councillor Davey just to answer that question directly. Is that appropriate? Councillor Davey.
Thanks. It's free to join. So there's $10,000 grants available if you choose to apply for them. So if you find a project that you have a business case for and you can justify, contributing to it and administrating it, and you want to apply for a grant to implement that project, that's where the $10,000 comes in. It does not cost you anything to join.
Councillor Lindeman, were you going to ask another question?
I guess I was a bit confused. Okay, so you apply for you join, but that allows you, by joining, to apply for the possibility of a $10,000 grant. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the process is that if we get approval to join, then it would be signing a memorandum of understanding. Then it would be writing an action plan that is what you want it to be. So if your first steps are identifying where your water use is, how much it is, where your gaps are, and knowing what your water use is, then you can cater your action plan to address some of those smaller things. So for example, you might find that you have a black spot where you know you use water, but you don't know how much you use. At that point, you might be in year 2 of your action plan, and you go, okay, I'm going to do a grant for improved metering, like data loggers, something, to measure the amount of water you're using in that area. So that might be a case where you go and apply for the grant to get funds for the equipment that you need. So the idea is that you identify how much water you're using, where you're using it, is that use efficient from a cost and a volume perspective, and overall you're trying to address your strategic risk of having insufficient water available in the long term.
Councillor Lindemann, and then we'll go over
Certainly.
to Councillor Shand.
Thank you. Through the chair, so who's the we? Who actually does the work?
So at the moment we have paid for a part-time role within the WBAC Climate Change Group, and that role is available to be like our coordinator as such. So the Water Corp has approached the WBAC Climate Group and said that they would be happy to bring all the representatives from the shires together to work on plans, to share actions, you know, how they're progressing. Everyone could do their annual reports together. But yeah, there would be someone from the Shire who has to do that. And so that's why in the report, I think I estimated it'd be about 4 hours a month, like a half day a month for someone to take on that role of, you know, developing the plan and doing the reporting, both of which are templates. So it's not an arduous process. So the administrative effort is in the finding out how much water you use.
Thank you.
CEO.
Sorry, I don't want to step into the councillor's realm, but I just wanted to make a comment, probably for clarity. My understanding was when I spoke with Matt from Warren Blackwood Alliance is that there's a number of tiers, levels of commitment, and as part of the due diligence and preparation for this notice of motion or elected members motion, did have a look at other councils' Waterwise programs and their action plans. So as Councillor Davey has outlined, I think it's a matter of identifying and crawling before you walk, so to speak. That could be an option if indeed there's concerns around both the financial and the resource impost. But I guess just from officer level, there will be some sort of staff impost required and time set aside, of which we haven't really identified that resource. But it's if that's indeed the will of council, then we will make that resource available.
Councillor Shand, thank you for your patience.
It's okay. CEO has answered some of that because it's actually in this is a council resolution, and it states there that, that, you know, some of the actions will be within existing Shire resources. So you said about 4 hours? Or would it be more in the early stages?
That's an estimate based on my personal experience having written and implemented these plans and done the reporting. So it does depend on the individual doing the work and who they've got to draw information from.
Okay. And did you say we haven't, sorry, CEO, we haven't actually done any of this research yet to see what resources will be tied up, whether there are staff who can actually do this in this current time with the changes that we're facing with staff?
Yeah, so look, there's no dedicated sustainability officer on council staff at the moment, so it would need to be absorbed as part of an existing officer's duties. How long that is would depend on, I guess, the action plan and what level, if indeed council wants to step in this space. I understand it's been on the agenda for a little while and discussed a number of terms of council, so yeah.
Councillor Davey.
The timing on this was intentional, that it come before council before the budgeting period so that it could be considered in the resourcing for the following financial year.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. Just one which I think I know the answer to, but I just wanted to check. The funding opportunities that are available within it can't go towards staffing or anything else. They're specifically for those projects to actually roll out the projects, but they couldn't be applied for towards staffing hours to then create the project. Would that be correct?
Not that I know of, but I've never asked the question.
Any further questions? Oh, excuse me, sorry, I was looking down. Councillor Davey.
I just wanted to add a point of clarification. So you mentioned the tiered levels earlier. So it mentions in the report that endorsed is the basic level, and that's what the assumption was, that we would be going for the endorsed level.
Thank you. Next item, 10.2, which is also another elected member's motion, which is to investigate and report on the reduction of elected members for the 2027 election. So this report was prepared by myself with some support from executive. The elected member recommendation is that Council request the Chief Executive Officer to investigate the process and timeline for the Shire of Donnybrook-Barlingup to reduce the number of elected members from 9 to 7 for the 2027 elections and bring a report back to Council for consideration at its May ordinary Council meeting. Does anybody have any questions regarding this? I'm going to go to... Councillor Shand put her light on first. I saw everyone else was ready.
Hipped at the post.
Okay.
Is there any reason why we couldn't pull that back to the next election? Is it prohibitive because there's certain things that have to happen legislatively?
I was going to pass that over to Ms Clifford because, or the CEO, but Ms Clifford was offering a lot of advice around this item. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, after speaking with the Department of Local Government and WALGA, the advice is that they would need to know before the 31st of January of the year of the election, and it's between about a 6 to 12 month process. There's discussion paper that needs to go out, call for submissions. Obviously, we need to go out with community consultation beforehand as well to make sure that it's in line with the community's needs.
Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. In the elected member comment, it talks about this adjustment aligns with best practice governance models. The benefits are outlined below. So in reading through the government proposed reforms, there is talk of, it allows councils to, change their number of elected members. But can you provide some feedback around where the best practice governance models that relate to this are?
Well, it would be my understanding after speaking to a couple of other local governments nearby that they've successfully reduced the amount of councillors as well. Best practice is, I guess it's around ensuring that we do stay within the governance models, but also that there are many benefits to it. Particularly in regard to streamlining decision making, efficiency around calling meetings, training. It's very hard to get a group of 9 people together and to agree on meeting times, days. It just really does help with streamlining meeting processes.
Okay, sorry, then if I may just follow up on that. So I understand the benefits, but from the term of phrase of saying this aligns with best practice governance, there isn't actually a best practice in this scope. There are benefits, I acknowledge that, or potential benefits, but there isn't a best practice to actually base it on. Would that be fair to say?
It could be fair to say as well, depending on how you want to define best practice. I define best practices in looking at streamlining and also about efficiency of council and also around reducing expenses as well. So. Councillor Lindeman.
Thank you. Yes, through the chair. With financial efficiency, reduced costs for council remuneration and associated expenses, do you have some figures around that? Something a little bit more concrete than just reduced? Purely because, of course, sometimes people aren't always here. So when streamlining things or financial efficiency, we've had numerous councillors away at different times. It seems like more so than in other years. So yeah, what would the financial efficiency, reduced costs, council remuneration and associated expenses, how would that look?
I do have that written down. I just have to go onto a different document. And not that one as well. Obviously there is a reduced amount because of the election costs. So that's sitting there. We don't know exactly what that is because we're still waiting back on feedback about that at the moment. And initially when I was considering this, I was hoping that we could actually implement it a lot faster than what we can. So the wheels of motion are not very quick. But just off the top of my head, because hang on. No, I can see it here now.
But just to help you out here, I'm happy if you can email some figures that
sure.
you would suggest were fairly accurate. Thank you.
Well, it is in the budget, and that's where I took my figures from, was from where it is in the budget. And yeah, okay, I'll email out those figures. Obviously, it talks about councillor allowance, IT allowance, and the budget that goes towards travel. It doesn't speak about any additional training or any additional travel that councillors might do. So it really is just around the allowances and then taking that back by 2. So, yeah, but I'm happy to provide that in an email back to everybody as well, sure. Oh, unless Ms Clifford can provide that, because I know she provided it to me initially. Have you got that handy? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know I can't find the email that I originally sent. But yeah, that amount is really easy to find as well, yeah. Are there any further questions? I think Councillor Patrick has another question. Are there any other questions? Councillor Davey.
So based on Ms Clifford's feedback earlier, the 6 to 12 month process for consultation, etc., there's no way it could be 6 months, like it's no way this could be a 2026. Okay. Sorry, 2025.
That was initially my focus on it too. So I worked quite closely with the executive to find the timelines and also to find those budget items as well, and also to look at the process of it occurring. But my initial conversation was in regard to other local governments that have actually effectively reduced the amount of elected members in their council. Yeah, and the local government reforms also provide for this to occur. Is no other further? I'm sorry, Councillor Shand.
Through the chair, Lauren, do you recall what the costs were for the last election and then the 2-year prior or 3-year prior? I think it was in the 30s. Yeah.
Sorry, through the chair, I can send that out, and we'd have that information prepared for the report that comes back in May as well with regards to the timeline and the proposal. But if you'd like that information prior to making this decision, I can definitely have that sent out.
Yeah, great.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, so there's nothing been reported about item 11. Item 12, there's no reason to close the meeting to the public. Brings us,
Yeah, I just had 2 minor notes that are just typos in the document. So my elected members motion referred to a second motion, which I haven't brought forward, so that needs to be struck out. And also the date for the next meeting just needs updating.
Very correct. That brings us to item 13, which is closure. So I'd like to advise that the next ordinary council meeting will be held on... 26th of March? Yep. Yes, correct. 26th of March, not 26th of February is what's actually listed on the agenda, at 5 p.m. in the Shire of Donnybrook Balingup Council. I'd like to declare the meeting closed at 5:55 p.m.